speaking of very cool lives and somebody who's just, I literally talk about you on the show multiple times about how cool he is.
I got it sent to me. There's a lot of pressure I feel right now.
All the pressure on you, Brad. Brad Cuddy coming in, coolest dude in Bitcoin. Like someone that I admire the way you live your life and just the aura you carry, dude. So I'm super happy you came on, and you're just super cool dude. So, and he's been in the game a long time.
Love you, bro.
Yeah,
happy
man,
to be here.
Too, dog.
You could, I mean, we called Austin Bitcoin Jesus, but you
might really
look
be Bitcoin
like
Jesus.
You may be Bitcoin Jesus.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, the hair does help.
It
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
It does. Austin was working on the hair at the time, but dude, you've got it. You got it down.
You could have the role of in Passion of the Satoshi.
Right. Oh my gosh. Man, we need to do that. We need to do that. That's perfect. Yeah, so Brad though, he's with Troya now. Yeah, dude, we'll just kind of talk through everything, your history, and I know we'll end up probably delving into like all the stuff I like to talk about, like freaking tinfoil hat stuff and
We got some
philosophy and
we got some conspiracies,
all kinds of stuff, man. So
No, it's a riff.
yeah.
But so background is actually oil and gas. Studied at Penn State, did petroleum engineering.
they have petroleum engineering at Penn State.
They sure
I
do.
didn't know
Wow, didn't know that.
Was
Petroleum
that
and
because
natural gas engineering, they would
Gotcha.
call it.
right? Was that because of the Marcel stuff? Is it relatively new?
It's been around for I don't know when
Yeah.
the actual program was founded, but it kicked off like considerably when the Marcellus was
Yeah,
and the
was
Utica
booming.
were going.
It's
Yeah.
very easy to forget that Titusville was in PA. Like
Right.
the birth of oil and gas in
right.
the U.S. happened in PA.
Yeah, the
I know
Drake
it's-
well.
Yeah, I know it's like Texas, kind of takes the crown these days, but it all started up there.
It did. That's one of the oil and gas nerds that we know that and remember that. But yeah, it is kind of the birthplace of the whole industry. So,
So do you
are you
work
from PA?
From New York.
Oh, you're from
actually.
New York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so from upstate New York, like Syracuse
Mhm.
area. So
You were like, I just want to become a petroleum engineer.
Yeah, right. Really, how'd that come about?
it was just energy and engineering was
Uh-huh.
kind of my focus. I actually chose Penn State because they have a nuclear reactor right there on campus.
Oh wow.
And I was
Mm.
thinking nuclear engineering.
Uh-huh.
And then Fukushima happened 2011. That was like
Oh,
right when
yeah.
I was starting. I
Yeah.
was like, maybe not. Like the political
Yeah.
red tape is coming down pretty hard.
Mm.
So switched it up, went just purely energy. Got on a job with Schlumberger.
Mm.
Just told him like, hey man, I know that you guys do these international assignments. I know they're hard to get, but
Yeah.
that's what I want. And
Ship me out.
I'll go anywhere you want to send me.
Where'd they send you?
So first they wanted to send me to Point Noir in the Republic of Congo on the
Oh,
West Coast. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I can dig it. There was a surf break right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like,
Of course there was.
I'm in.
Freaking, oh, that's awesome. I told you Brad's super cool. Surfer, dude. You're like Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze combined. You know what I mean?
I got to pull out a Neo costume one
Oh,
year.
did you?
but
Yeah.
No, I have to. Like it's on my my to-do list.
Nice.
But that ended up I got pulled away because, graduating 2015, oil's in the dumps. And there was a lot of churn in the industry. So I ended up getting switched to Denmark.
Oh, sorry.
Not yeah.
Yeah.
Woe is me.
I know. That's
Mm.
awesome too.
So lived in Denmark for 2 years, kind of bopped around Scotland, England, Norway, and Denmark, working offshore there. Did a year in the Persian Gulf out of Qatar.
Oh, wow, dude.
There, I think that was, I was already orange pilled. I was already
Mhm.
buying Bitcoin, but I was on this well that was flaring 100 million cubic feet a day.
Gosh.
We're talking with like crappy reciprocating
Wow.
engines could
Yeah.
do 300 plus megawatts.
Right.
On
So
a
just
single well. This was offshore.
One well choked back.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
my
we're-
gosh.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
They have so much gas there.
Yeah.
So, while this is happening, I'm like, man, I need to
What
get,
year was this?
I think that well was 2018.
Okay.
2018 or 2019. So like bear market times.
Right.
Like we're all talking Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Shit coins. People are buying, like selling their Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and converting into EOS. Like my
Buying Ripple.
supervisor.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my
right.
God, dude. We all go through it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, we do, man. That's another thing I'm glad you're saying, because like a lot of people don't want to admit it. A lot of maxis, like
I feel like
Come
that's
on,
the
dude.
only way to become a true maxi.
I think
is
it is
to
have that experience.
You have to go through the shitcoin experience.
I totally agree.
You got to go
man.
through the gauntlet of shitcoins.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I had
And
somebody
honestly,
recently try to like convince me to come back to the dark side, and I was like, no, what?
Yeah.
Like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Once you put on those magic glasses, dude, you don't take them off. That's just the way it is. You know?
I know.
I just now I am also I don't give a shit what somebody does. If they want to go buy shit coins, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
I'm a libertarian, like truth, like not even I don't even like saying that. I don't want the government trying to tell me what to do, and I'm not going to police other people's decisions. Like I'm all about freedom. So whatever you want to do is up to you. It might be a dumb decision, but you still have the right to do it.
I've just never. There was one key thing that stuck out to me in the middle of shitcoins, and it was there from the beginning, but I was never able to come up with an answer, and no one's ever been able to articulate an answer for me. Is how is something that is tokenized, right? Where there's a management team, how is that not a security? No one's ever been able to give me an answer.
That's been the key kind of thing,
and it's fine that
Right.
it is,
but
but it's like,
there's-
but I don't know, just call a spade a spade.
right. I mean, it's hard for me to understand. It's easy for me to understand why Bitcoin is not.
Yeah,
Like it's easy to explain the difference in those, but I really couldn't sit here and tell you why it's not a security. And I think that's probably why a lot of the issues going on are going on. But sorry, man.
Hey, no,
Yeah,
all good.
sorry.
Like, good riff.
Diatribe.
massive well. You're flaring off enough to burn a massive hole in the
And you're
ozone.
doing
Dude,
shitcoin
like,
talks with your boys.
Shitcoin talks with the
Yeah.
boys, and I'm already Bitcoin maxi at this point. I'm like, guys,
Oh, were you really
Yeah.
already? Nice.
Shitcoined in 2017 on the run up,
Yeah.
and then watched it go to zero
Yeah.
and get obliterated.
That was
And
my
I-
same,
Tron?
my same timeline.
Did
Yeah.
Tron get you at all? It got me a little bit.
Tron?
I feel like I bought some shitcoins like REP or like REP.
Yeah.
I of course Litecoin, Ethereum,
Uh-huh.
all that crap.
Yeah.
And I went back and looked at it. I'm like, I could have just bought Bitcoin.
I know, man.
You know,
do
through
it
the
all the
lens of like I was kind of, when I was offshore, I was just like intelligent investor, like Ben Graham. Yeah, I think is his name. Just 3 fund portfolio, keep it simple, keep it stupid. And then I kind of looked back and looked at Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, this is number one. It's been number one the whole time. It's the blue chip. So that was like my very like surface level why I switched to like Bitcoin only, and then started going into like the freedom maximalist part of it. We need freedom money for free people,
Right.
So be out.
It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited for this. Keep going.
But yeah, so like I was out there, year in Qatar, and then transferred into like perforating services and downhole tools in the Gulf of Mexico, and did a little bit in the Prudhoe Bay. And while I was there,
Up
oil
in
fields.
Alaska?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did
Hit
actually?
any waves up there?
No, absolutely not. I'm a no wetsuit type
Yeah,
of surfer. I want to go in there in board shorts. So in the Gulf, oil and gas is great. Like it's a great industry. But I had found that my passion, like I would talk about Bitcoin when I was offshore. I would be researching and reading like articles, books, listening to podcasts the entire time I was offshore. I'm like, I should probably align my passion with what I'm, working towards.
That's so important because most people don't realize like, oh, what should I do? And it's like the things like where you spend your time. Your time is your most valuable asset. And it's like where you spend your time and where your mental bandwidth is going is most likely what you're most passionate about.
We were literally just kind of talking about this out there. It's like so much of what the vast majority of us do is make decisions based off of what we think other people are going to think about it. And man, it's just a bad way to live. And like he's talking about this, and I'm talking about mine similarly, but that was really kind of for me the change in my life was where I stopped like doing things for not stop doing things for other people, but stop doing things for other people's approval and stop trying to do things based on, protecting your image based on someone else's perception. Most of the people you talk to, you don't even like, I'm not going to interact with them on a daily basis at all. So, but I'm making decisions based on what they're going to think about it. And that's just like when you step back and look at it, like when, you start talking about like psychedelic experiences or like just out of body experiences, this is one of those where it's like, man, if you just remove yourself from the equation, you know that this is not what you should be doing, what that person should be doing. It's like, go get into the thing you care about, the thing you love, and the thing you want to talk about and talk about with your friends. And if you find a way to make yourself be able to have a career in it, that's like icing on the cake, man. You know how lucky all of us are?
So lucky,
like,
dude.
We're so lucky, man. So lucky that we get to like hang out with friends, talk about it, shit that we care about, like in a way where we don't have any pressure from anybody. This is incredible, the life we get to live, dude. It's incredible.
It is.
And like when you all align together, like
Mm.
you're working with people that are passionate. You're working with people that aren't there for the paycheck. They want to be there. And
Right.
it just like it feeds on itself. And like the energy level in Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, like I love it.
And you can never go back.
No, 100% not.
And now every social setting, it's like, so you're a Bitcoiner?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. And I also find myself not really hanging out with people who aren't like-minded now, which in a way could be bad if you let it become bad, but like you got to make sure you still expose yourself to other ways.
You've got to convert the non-believers.
Well, right. And you got to show
like
them,
Jesus said.
Right. And you show them by your fruits,
Yeah.
right? You show them, they'll know you by your fruits. So you go out and you be your genuine self, and that to me is the fruit that like people see and they're like attracted to, because it's a healthy fruit. You don't want the wrinkly shit that's like going bad and got mold on it. You want something healthy, happy, and like, man, Brad lives that way, you live that way, I try to live that way, and it's like, man, it's a draw for people, and that's the thing that will convert people into like, man, this space is awesome. Like
There
these
is like
people
this
are cool.
underlying common denominator where it's not just about Bitcoin. It's like Bitcoin is the vehicle for like freedom money. I mean, I guess that's the best way to put it, or sovereignty, and just aligning yourself with people in that, I don't know, in that group.
Right. And philosophically, we tend to align. It's like, yeah, freedom, sovereignty, healthy kind of lifestyles, even the food is a big part of the Bitcoin kind of community. You know what I mean? And speaking like Brad, he's the epitome of that too. So like, now I'm never going to be a vegan, but like, I mean,
I'm always outed by other people.
I know he never talks about it, man.
I never knew.
He never talks about it, but it's like, and then he took us to a vegan restaurant. It was incredible. That was so good.
Hey, shout out to Gideon for always applying the pressure and
Yeah.
making me bring people to a vegan restaurant. He loves to do it, and it gives me so much
Does he really?
anxiety because
Yeah.
not every restaurant's a good
Yeah.
restaurant.
Right.
So not every vegan restaurant will be a good vegan
That's
restaurant.
true.
And so like
It's a lot of pressure.
I'm somewhere that I don't know. I don't know the
Uh-huh.
restaurant scene with a bunch of my friends that I don't want to disappoint. Like we're only there for a couple nights. Like I'm like, we gotta have a good meal. We gotta have a
Yeah.
good time. So he loves to do it, but it stresses me out.
But dude, it was incredible. And I was like, oh man, this is really good. But he's right. He's never trying to force his beliefs on anybody or anything like that. And I appreciate that, because it's like, man, be your own self and do what you want to do. But sorry, man, you go ahead. I'm all fired up and
Hey, let's
excited
go.
about it. Yeah.
To go back to like, what Bitcoin opens up for you,
Mm.
think of the different paths of discovery that you went through, like once you started buying Bitcoin. Economic theory, right? Psychology, human psychology, sociology, what you've learned, and low time preference too. And that's kind of why I'm eating the way I'm eating. Like
Mhm.
vegan and carnivore, like the steak movement and the vegan movement, like it doesn't, like on the topical surface layer, doesn't align.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty much the way I live is like no processed foods. Like I
Mhm.
want to get my macros from something
Right.
from the earth. And so in that
Mhm.
sense, like
Mhm.
the elimination of the processed crap food, like that you're getting in the heart of the grocery store instead of on the aisles where everything's refrigerated, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Right.
And so, I don't know really where I'm going with this, but what Bitcoin has done in the past that it's brought me to, like it's the vehicle, right?
Mhm.
It's truly transformative. And
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be Bitcoin for you. Like it can be whatever you find is your purpose, right? Whatever makes you live authentically is where you need to focus your energy. Like we all have like different things that make us tick. We were talking about,
Mhm.
the guys at Anadarko, like the engineers that, want to come like study subsurfaces all day.
Right.
Like just makes people go like that. And that's what you need to do. And
You're
so
right.
like, I'm super thankful to be working at Choya and with Gideon. It was I guess I can go to my path there.
Mhm.
I started at GAM. I was hitting up Austin Storms. Shout out Storms, one of the smartest guys I
We're
know.
still gonna get
We're
him
getting him
on
in
here
here.
with you. Like that's a requirement. We got to get you both on here together.
So, I knew that he was in Louisiana and he
Mhm.
was in Bitcoin mining via Great American Mining.
How did you know him?
I didn't know him.
Oh, you didn't.
I
know
knew
him.
about it from Twitter.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I had initially saw something about them being in Louisiana. I
Mhm.
DM'd on Twitter. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm really interested in Bitcoin. I just want to learn. Like, can I come shadow? Can I come up to the shop? I'll sweep the floors
Yeah.
if that's what I need to do, just to like get my hands on a machine.
Was it just Austin in the beginning?
So GAM was origin story. I know guys have gone through this before on
Yeah.
the podcast, but it was Todd from Buy Sell Ads and Tom, who were like the two.
Masario. Yeah.
Masario,
Okay,
yeah, exactly. The two that really started it.
Mhm.
And then Tom brought on, he was tasked with getting these machines deployed. They bought like some Dragon Mints back in the day. Let's just mine Bitcoin. How hard could it be?
Right.
And, went through, I think flare gas off of some water treatment or something. It was before my time, but that's how Reet and Isaac got involved there. They kind of did the pilot project, went to another flare gas project. They were running into some issues, and then Marty, who was at GAM too, got looped Austin in. He goes, "Hey man, like I know you've built Bearbox. Can you help us out with this build? We're having X, Y, and Z issues."
Mhm.
And so Austin started contracting for them, and then stood up the manufacturing facility in Ponchatoula, Louisiana, which was 45 minutes away from New Orleans, where I lived.
Okay.
I see GAM as like the same thing as like how PayPal was like this incubator for like the PayPal mafia, and like everybody went on and did great things.
Right.
GAM is like that equivalent in the Bitcoin mining
That's
space.
true.
It's like there's so
That
many
is-
big names that came out of GAM, and everybody's gone off and done great things.
That is true. Yeah, a lot of you guys have been just kind of OGs and really successful in it. But
I mean, if you stick around after starting like one of the very first flare gas mining outfits, there's a steep learning curve, right?
Right.
They had nobody to ask. So what those guys built at the very beginning was something to behold.
Yeah.
So they optimized for, getting Bitcoiners on the team. So your passions aligned. So when you're on site for 2 weeks in the middle of snowstorms, like shoveling out snow so you get your miners back on, you actually care, right? It's not it's not a W-2 job that you're
that's good for you young dudes too to understand that, because you guys were young at that time too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really young. But that is such an important part of like a team, whether it be sports or a startup, like having aligned incentives and like philosophy. Because you're right, man. Like me and Ryan, when we first got Jay going, there's times where like Ryan was staying up for like 36 hours straight and just tinkering around on gen sets and trying to keep stuff online, and then I was out there for like, it was a long time, several weeks in a row without coming back home and seeing your kids for a while. But you got to have and you can't do that if you're not a Bitcoiner.
right. You got to be
just
bought
can't.
in.
Yeah, true.
And Ryan, that's typical oil field hand. Like you're drilling, you're on the floor, something's
Right.
happening, you're going. Like it doesn't
Right.
matter. The job stops when the job is
Yeah,
over with.
yeah, that dude was ridiculous, man. I was like, dude, you need to go home, sleep. He's like, bloodshot eyes, and he's like sunken in the face, and he's like, no, we got to make sure this is running. All right, you're a psycho, but go for it, man. This is great. So, but yeah, so GAM, and then that you and Austin, that's where you guys kind of teamed up.
We teamed up there,
Yeah.
yeah. So he was looking for somebody to kind of take off some of the weight of going up to North Dakota all the time for the deployments.
Yeah,
So hit him up on Twitter again after I saw that.
yeah,
Interviewed, I think did an online interview, in-person interview, and then we drove to the Houston meetup. 5 hours there, talked on the call the whole time. I'm
Yeah.
taking notes. I'm like, have no idea what's going on, right? Went to the meetup, drove 5 hours home the same day.
Oh,
still
gosh.
like like the guy's just a stream of consciousness, like barraging me with information. I get home and like my brain's fried. I'm like, I have no idea. Like, cause that was definitely a part of the interview.
Yeah.
One, like, could you hang out with me for 10 hours in a truck? Two, like, could I ask intelligent questions?
This is such a nugget, and I hate to keep going on the side tangents, but if I listen to the Founders podcast, we talked about on the podcast that you did with Marty, Drew, and Tom, and one of the common themes, you don't see it as much these days, but you saw it a lot in the early 1900s, even into like the mid 1900s, is that some of the most successful people in the world would do exactly what you just said. They would find somebody, they would like pick up the phone, like Steve Jobs did this. He would pick up the phone and called the founder of HP and asked him if he could like have something or like go and apprentice for him or like offer up some sort of like value.
Yeah.
And like that is a huge, massive comment. And people just like overlook that. They're like, no, I want to like go out and get my first job. And it's like, no, but if you're truly passionate about something, like reach out to your heroes or people who are legends in the space and just suck it up and soak up as much information as you possibly can. That's still applicable today.
And it gets you ahead.
It does.
You know what I mean? Instead of getting in that
people think it's like a
line.
long way around, but it's actually a massive like shortcut and superpower for your career, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's something else.
Man, we keep taking you off, but I want to add something to that because it is like it's the counterintuitive thing to what people typically do. But it like if you again zoom out, you look at it, you're like, that's exactly what you have to do to get ahead. You know what I mean? You can't just get in line and do the same thing that everybody's doing. You got to get away from it and like differentiate yourself just in who you're talking to or spending your time with. You can't just get in line and go with the freaking cattle to the trough. It ain't gonna work, you know. So good job. But go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, if you're expecting like the same, like a different outcome from doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, like you're a little crazy.
Yeah. So
just, you know, kind of lucky, kind of persistent, you know.
It's not lucky, man. No, like that it's not lucky. It is persistence. And it's like, but that to me, persistence is more important than almost anything else we have. Like you got to have certain baseline education. You got to have certain baseline capabilities, but like what will differentiate you? Because a lot of people have that. A lot of people have, you know, the same level of intelligence as basically all of us. A lot of people have, you know, better networks even coming out of stuff. But like, if you don't go and seek out and be persistent with your efforts to seek out the right people, the right network, the right opportunities, then they're just not going to show up.
I think, like you said, it's having a low time preference. And I know in entrepreneurship, that's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Because once you get certain, like so many years in, there's not much competition on the other side of that. Right, because most people will give up or give in or fail, or they'll be wildly successful. But once you get to the other side, it's like, man, there's nobody to compete with me at this point.
Right. And what a comfortable spot that is. But also the comfort that comes from like working in what you want to do, like the peace that comes from that stuff is just there's
which ties back to leading to the persistence. And it's much easier when you're wildly passionate about something.
Oh yeah,
it's easy to have that low time preference. When it is something, and if you're pursuing something you're not truly passionate about or bought in on, when the shit hits the fan, it's really, really hard to just like keep doing it.
Right. Totally.
Sorry,
Brad. We keep doing that to you, man.
Detour 8 times.
Hey man, just you talk to me. Like I'll ask the questions and y'all just riff.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. No, I'm just
no, it's okay. Like
you inspire this like
I love doing these in person.
Kinda.
It's so much more fun in person.
Oh yeah, it's so much more fun. The virtual ones. Like we've had some good episodes. I'm not gonna rub it, but like I just love the dynamic of having everybody in the room.
It's a lot easier, you know. Not talking over each other and interrupting.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry.
I'm interrupting you all the time.
No, I know. We're having a conversation.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So you soaked it all up from Austin Storms. Your brain's fried. What happens?
What did you think of Austin when we first met him? Because he's so intense. Like he does, and he talks super freaking fast, right? And it feels like he's hilarious, but he's kind of like it's like he's George Costanza a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, not like he's just.
You got that awesome?
I know, but
he doesn't look like George Costanza.
No, he doesn't look like George Costanza, but he like just kind of like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like it feels like he's going to say something funny all the time, and if the situation environment is in a worse situation, he's going to be funnier because of what he's going to say. So
like my first impression with him was I want to work for this guy.
Yeah.
The type of person that you can just tell is very intelligent, very switched on, super passionate, hardworking, loves what he does. I'm very thankful that he was my mentor and like is now my friend. So like a really stand-up guy in the industry.
Yeah, he is.
So I only actually really got to learn from him for 3 to 4 months until he headed over to Galaxy to lead up, their massive acquisition over at the Argo facility running Helios now. So then I kind of just took over deployment operations. Brought on one of my buddies from Schlumberger, Tyler Hunt. So him and I kind of like tag teamed GAM's expansion from, I think we did a couple, like maybe like 5 to 6 more megawatts after Austin left. And then, bottom fell out of the bear market hit. And, we were kind of looking for, what's the next step? And Crusoe came along and it was like, we're in the same territory. Like, what do you guys think about, an acquisition? And, Todd and Tom handled all that. And, both Tyler and I got the opportunity to go move up to Denver. They kept, most of the staff on. And 1 month after I got to Denver, Bitcoin was hitting $16,000 and there was, layoffs across the board and we got some projects canceled. And, my opportunity came for a new journey. And so I had actually been talking to Gideon before that. And
how'd you meet Gideon?
He cold called me and like just in
did,
classic Gideon Powell fashion.
Nice. Gideon's another dude that you're just like, I just love the way he lives his life. You know what I mean?
His energy is infectious, man.
Incredible energy.
We just have like random phone calls on like
positivity.
Wednesdays at like 5 p.m. that'll last 45 minutes, and it's like nothing about work.
Right.
We just talk about life, being dads, how we're thinking about things. It's just like time just kind of goes away, and we just have such a great conversation.
Gideon is one of just oil and gas and Bitcoin, like one of the best people you're going to meet. Just a good dude. You know what I mean? And genuine. I've had people ask me before, like, is he really the way he seems? I'm like, dude, that guy is
all the time
100% the way he seems. Like, he's as good as gold, man. As good as Bitcoin.
Yeah, I remember. I didn't know him, right? Like he called me. He was talking about this, project they had going in West Texas and wanted to start. And so I think I like actually got onto your podcast, and he was one of your first guests.
Oh,
and
really?
Just like listen to him talk for an hour and a half. And I'm like, this is another guy that I want to work for.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He came down just for that podcast.
Yeah,
came down, brought his little girl. It was like our first one. Yeah, it was our first one.
I think it was our very first episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
What better way to kick it?
I know. Great.
We got to get Gideon back on.
We do.
And Griffin was on with him, right?
Griffin was on with him. Yeah. That was a good show. Yeah. First one. But yeah, so he called you then. And so you guys now got the West Texas stuff going, right? Can you talk? I mean, how much can you talk about that?
Yeah, we're pretty open book.
Yeah, you guys
so the whole thesis is, West Texas, intersection of the wind belt running from North Dakota down to West Texas, and the solar belt going from Southern California to West Texas. There's a massive resource of energy there. And we all know that
do they have oil and gas there too?
Yeah. A little bit. Just the Permian.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
So, there's a ton of generation growth, but there's also a lot of load growth, and a lot of that is oil and gas, but Bitcoin mining is coming there too, in droves. So the thesis is, Gideon, the visionary, went out and bought a ton of land. Like as soon as China banned Bitcoin mining, he goes, this is the place that will land. And even before that, he did the HODL Ranch, first spec built substation for Bitcoin mining in West Texas, pioneering the whole industry.
Expand upon that a little bit, because I never knew. Like I think once I knew Gideon, I think he'd either sold that or whatever. He was already past that by the time that we had actually met. So what's like the brief history of kind of HODL Ranch?
Prior to my time, but like the general gist of it was, I don't know how Gideon got linked up with it, but he basically, in true Gideon fashion, like gets an idea and he goes, everyone else thinks this is crazy.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it.
Right.
So, chartered jets out to West Texas. Chad Harris is there. There's a picture of them in Priority Power. And I think John Bick's there.
Yeah.
And, he's like, John, we need to build a 50 or 100, whatever X megawatt substation is. And he goes, okay, what is it for? It's for Bitcoin mining. Like this is like, I think 2017 or 2018. Nobody's like even scratched the surface here. And so, went through the whole process, successful sale. And yeah, like that was the first.
So they literally built a substation from scratch, particularly just for Bitcoin mining. And then did they, I guess, just sell the power to a bunch of different miners, or was it one power?
I think they sold the entire deal.
Yeah, they sold the entire thing, I think, to Layer 1, right? Or who was it?
It gets messy.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. But they sold it. But it was the first like large scale build for Bitcoin mining. I think in the US, maybe anywhere.
China might have had it beforehand, but that's a black box. So nobody knows.
No,
right?
we don't even count them. It was the first one ever. Stamped.
We need to get Giddy a trophy for that.
Yeah, we should. When do we have him next?
We didn't have an award ceremony for Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, we should. Oh my gosh,
Dude,
that's a great idea.
That'd be dope.
Next year at Empower, that needs to happen. There needs to be like a of categories we can have, like dopest hair. Who looks most like Bitcoin Jesus? Austin versus Brad. Who's the number one seed? Like, oh my gosh, great. We got a lot to do next year. You're great.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, Pass Huddle Ranch
did that.
Yep.
Bitcoin mining ban in China happened. Gideon scooped up a bunch of primo acreage around massive switching stations, like already built stations on the eastern part of West Texas. In the event, like foreseeing that mining load will be going out there, and whether it's mining or just compute in general, was ahead of the game there. So right now we're running a small 7 megawatt R&D project where we really just are focusing on partnering with values aligned companies and folks. So we went and bought upstream data boxes. We bought gigaboxes. We bought a Hayden immersion system. So we're running Antminers, Air, WhatsMiners side by side. We're running WhatsMiner hydros inside of Giga's first box. We're running WhatsMiner immersions inside of a Hayden industrial immersion system. We bought Upstream's first 900 kW hash hut. We bought Giga's first,
The
hydro
immersion
box.
one? Oh, the first hydro box.
We bought Hayden Industrial's first immersion build specifically for WhatsMiners. So we're comfortable taking on that risk because we're starting small.
Yeah.
We're giving them the opportunity to test ground. We're like totally open booking it. Like, hey, anybody can come visit. Any data that you want from us of like your machine, like your system in operation, take whatever.
Can we ask you some right now?
Let's go.
All right. How's the Giga Hydro Box doing? And how are the WhatsMiners hydros? Is it the M53s?
We're using M53Ss. Yeah.
Okay. How's that going?
So it's going well. The surprising thing to me was the initial failures within, I guess we're 4 months in now. I've got around a 10% failure rate,
Really?
but not infrastructure related. I think it's miner related. I'm also like caveat, I'm running them all in high power mode because there's plenty of cooling capacity.
Right.
And halving's coming, so I want to get as many sats as I can. So it could be because I'm running these things at 9,500 watts a machine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But still in warranty. It's gonna get processed. That's probably the most surprising thing. But other than that, the infrastructure itself, it's working well, and then the miners themselves.
So this is purely, it's you're mining, but it's like the main focus for you guys is to just run as much different setups and scenarios to learn from it.
Right, because we have these 9 different sites that we eventually want to build out, either ourselves or partnering. So we have this data, like, hey, we ran this for a year and a half here in West Texas. How is it running?
Right.
What do we think? What's the best payback? What's the most robust, least OpEx? So all that data we'll use to expand in the future.
Are you running any air cooled right now?
Yeah. So
you haven't hit the summer yet though?
We did last year.
Oh, you did get the summer last year. Okay, I was curious. So and I hate this putting you on the spot, but ranking. Would you go and rank right now based on performance, and maybe not your preference, but what has the performance look like? Like if you're saying 1, 2, and 3, what would be your preference in West Texas if you're running air cooled? And then I'm going to ask you about immersion and then hydro too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Air wise, so last year we didn't have, just because of our like price responsive energy management system, we couldn't put aftermarket firmware on the S19s that we were running.
Okay.
So it's not completely indicative of, how good it could be, because when you do put that firmware on there, it does improve the temperature profiles, and you can, dynamically adjust or, temperature adjust.
Do you have a preferred firmware?
We're trying them all, actually. Of course, like as we would. I think the Luxor guys are actually going to be out on site tomorrow.
Nice.
And just checking it out. Brains guys we've also worked with, like, we want everybody to win. Like we kind of just want to just spread out, and we're small too, man. There's like 240 amp miners in there. Nobody's competing over our business. We just want to help folks succeed, and if we can help improve their firmware, like we'll help do that. But with stock firmware of WhatsMiner and stock firmware of the S19s, the WhatsMiners have done better in West Texas. So I'd put them maybe half into normal power and half in low power mode, and I was rock solid through like 115 degree temperatures out there. Yeah,
okay. That's been consistent with everything we've heard too.
Yeah, it has been. Have you tried the Aradine machine?
Oh, we do actually have one Aradine machine. We just got it. We have two of them actually pretty recently. So performing well.
Is it the immersion one or the?
They're the air. They're the air ones. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I'm gonna have a lot of questions for you. We probably wait some of them when we're done, but yeah, I'm gonna have a lot. I got a lot of stuff on my mind. So all right. So air cooled. That's kind of been how it is. What about immersion?
Immersion, we're only using WhatsMiner, and that the reason for doing that was, one, it's ready made, right? I'm not taking off fans, I'm not putting on spoofers, I'm not putting on aftermarket firmware, I'm not turning the miner upside down and plugging it in from the bottom.
Right.
It was to optimize for having a pretty lean team out there, an operation out there, and those machines have had I've had, I think, 5 foul out of 160.
Oh, not bad.
So we're talking like 3% failure rate. So they performed better than the hydros on just like PSU failures. They're both hitting what they're supposed to hit, like sticker wise and whatnot, and cooling capacity wise.
What about CapEx on those? Like, is the return going to look basically the same with the air cooled and immersion when you factor in CapEx for immersion operation, or is it?
Like immersion was heaviest on CapEx, and then following was hydro, and then following was air. Yeah. And so I'm not really sure if immersion will be able to, because I can overclock the hydros just as much as I can overclock the immersion.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And there's a difference in dollars per megawatt, right? But I'm getting less failures in the immersion. So like how does that factor in? It's going to take more time to gather data on it, but the jury's still out. I think there's applications for all three of them, and there's different uses for all three of them, and you kind of have to tailor to where you are, right, and what you have access to.
What about the containers? Have you noticed a difference between upstream, Giga, and you said Ambox was that one?
We don't have an app, so we only have. So we don't have any containers of various manufacturers in the same cooling style. So all the upstream are air, all the Giga are hydros, and then the Hayden, like we built our own building, and that's immersion. It just kind of like sets in the building. Yeah. So I don't have like a Giga air versus an upstream air comparison or anything like that. Okay. They have different approaches.
Right,
upstream uses positive pressure and like a loop. Giga uses a straight line, negative pressure, and like RK Mission Critical uses a negative pressure, but in that chevron V shaped. So there's different flavors. Yeah, we will eventually test them all, but we're not there yet.
That's what's funny too. And like, despite it's been a few years now, but I've never really heard a consensus on like what's the best way. You know what I mean? Just It depends.
We're still
I don't know
figuring
if
it out.
anybody's
Right,
tried
right.
as many things as you guys have, though.
I love that you guys are doing this though, because it's such a good test case for
Yeah,
everybody.
I should write some
right?
like blog posts or something. And just like dropping those.
Yeah,
You should do a TikTok and go do updates all the time. That's what you should do. Yeah.
I need to get some tips from JP Barrick.
JP.
We
Yeah.
man, like he was blowing up on TikTok. But
Oh, was he?
I still see him on Instagram Reels like once a day.
really,
Seriously?
I
Yeah.
love it.
It's not him posting his stuff. It's
That
other
money
people that have like
suit, dude.
reused it.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen any of his stuff on there. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm old though. I'm so old compared to you guys. I don't even know how to.
What's
get
this
TikTok
social
going.
media?
What is this here? Yeah, no, man. I'm old and out of it, but yeah. So I do know JP though. Bought some machines from him back in the day.
Nice. No, he's got a video of him going into like a Iowa wind farm with like a pure like Benjamin like dollar suit on.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's I'll send it to you after
Oh my
this.
gosh.
It's fantastic. JP's
Yeah.
the dude.
I'll have to see that, man. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, send that to me afterwards. But okay, so that's kind of how the things are going out there. How long are you guys going to keep up with that before you start expanding on those other sites and make kind of, I don't know, some decisions on what route you think is best?
We're in the process of
Mhm.
expanding our sites right now. Anybody that has applied for interconnects recently will know that
Mhm.
there's a massive backlog. There
Yeah.
is a lot of load that is trying to get served.
Mhm.
Is it like 80 gigawatts or something like that?
It's something crazy.
Is that, yeah, I think, well, right now it's like, was there 84 gigs on the Texas grid now?
Yeah,
right?
peak
Is
load
there-
was 84,
Yeah,
85, or
something like
86,
that.
one of those numbers.
So are you saying there's 80 gigawatts worth of interconnects?
I feel like
in
I
there?
heard that. Yeah,
Holy
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, guys. I'm just saying. I think
Yeah.
I think that's what I heard. Yeah, the same number that we have total is currently what's waiting to come online in Texas as well.
Jeez,
Yeah, and
dude, are you serious? Good grief! I didn't even know that. That's insane.
And it depends on what year we're talking, right? Like if
Yeah.
you forecast out to 2030 or
Mhm.
20 even beyond, like it's even larger than that.
Right.
It's just there's unprecedented load growth.
How much of that is West Texas? Do you know?
That I do not know,
Okay.
unfortunately. I don't know if it's published. So like
Mhm.
Clayton, my boss,
Yeah.
our VP of energy, is our ERCOT expert. Right?
Oh,
He
okay.
spent 30 years in the industry. He was
Yeah.
here for the whole reform of ERCOT. So he's the guy that I asked for all of that.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I don't have to file it away in
We
my
should get
head.
him on here too. We should
Very
have
good.
like Caleb, Gideon, and that dude, and you. We should do another episode
Yeah, we
with all
should.
4 of them.
Just a party episode.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just sit around, hang out, talk about all kinds of crazy stuff with Gideon and Brad. I think we need to do that.
Get him
Like
to
that.
fly on the helicopter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, sorry we keep cutting you off, dude. Bro.
You're not coming
Carry on.
off.
All right.
We're just vibing. Yeah. So we're talking to some people now about potentially partnering. And then our interconnects are looking like it'll probably be 1 to 2 years away.
Really?
Just
Okay.
the whole supply chain of
Mhm.
electrical grids is being stressed right now.
Right.
You need transformers and breakers on low side or on the load side and on the gen side. So
Mhm.
the amount of infrastructure that needs to be deployed for all of this load to get it serviced is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And then you've got these utilities that are move slow and don't really have
Right.
a fire lit under the ass. So you're getting 24 months lead time. And you're like, hey,
Gosh,
can we
dude.
build this for you to make it go
Yeah.
faster and then just give it to you? They're like, no, unfortunately the rules aren't that way.
Have
So do
most
they-
of
do they
utilities
have-
been taking that stance? Like they're not going to let you,
I-
even if you build it to their specs.
depends who the utility is.
Okay.
It depends who the
Yeah.
utility is. I believe.
Yeah.
Once again, we're getting
Yeah.
outside of my
Yeah.
area of
Yeah,
expertise,
no,
and
I
I don't
get
want to
it.
say something wrong.
This keeps coming up as a massive issue. And so do the utilities require that they build all of this themselves? Not just like the approval process, but let's just say theoretically they were like, hey, we just don't have the bandwidth to be able to execute on this, but we'll approve this. And then they could contract that out to different like utility EPCs to be able to build that. Or do they just say, no, it has to be our people that go in and like build all of this?
I don't know that.
Think because there's some liability to it, right? It's
Yeah.
critical
Mhm.
infrastructure that, especially if it's going to be a grid-owned substation. we're talking about
Right.
reliability of the ERCOT grid here, and like
Yeah.
it's very unappealing to people to be the reason for another failure or a cascade event in the future of a blackout or brownout.
Right.
So there's a lot of caution post Uri that may be holding things up, and then also just the electrification of everything, right? Like the mandates of more EVs, the expansion of renewables is stressing the current capacity of electrical infrastructure because you need to transform all of those like AC. So you got to go from AC to DC back to AC for the wind farms, and then you've got your DC voltage on your photovoltaics, and all of those needs transformers too. So
Jeez. Sounds like an engineer. Man, I'm like, what? Gosh, yeah. That is kind of one of the bigger problems, though, is that, and that we don't talk about, is a lot of those renewable projects, they can't get to market, right? And that's kind of, we talk about it a lot on here, is just kind of the benefit Bitcoin mining has brought to them by allowing them to start actually generating revenue right away.
So I was in Denver this past week. I hate Denver because I'm always sick. I get altitude sickness. But so we had a happy hour. This girl who she I think she came to Empower at least the last couple of years, but she works for Nextera. She's head of permitting. She's like community relations and like permitting and stuff. And I was like, what is the average? Like, how long does it take to get like your renewables project like greenlit and like actually like done? 15 years.
What?
15 years.
Are you kidding?
She's
me?
only worked there for 2 years, and not any of the projects that she's worked on. She has like 84 projects on her slate. None of them have been seen to fruition just because the process takes so long.
15 years,
Wow.
dude.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was transmission lines.
And then if you go over to like the midstream side, it's like almost the same thing. It's like 8 to 10 years permitting because you have to go through like FERC, you have to go through like all of these other different regulatory bodies now.
That's insane, though.
Yeah. So it's like if we could just do away with the
red tape.
Yeah. Like that is the biggest inhibitor to forward progress and innovation in the space.
Yeah. But it's like that. I don't even blame that on Bitcoin. That's obviously just from the power development or power delivery or like grid infrastructure, I guess. Like that, it's insane where it's gotten to. Like, how's that so antiquated? But yet, like, we live in the world we do, where we can do the things we can do and the speed we can do it. And it's like, it's always going to be blocked and prohibited. Our progress is blocked and prohibited by the red tape that we have. And it's really ridiculous.
Electrical grids and systems used to be small, decentralized, and then, they've grown and grown and grown in scale and size. But like, there's never been like any like major breakthrough on the grid as society's progressed.
Right.
What we've grown in the past 100 years is astronomical, and it's still the same technology essentially is what the wires and the transmission and everything like that. It's all the same. Thankfully, Texas isn't in FERC. So we have that one red tape cut for us.
Yeah, thankfully.
That one.
I always think about like if we were to go to like the moon or the Mars or wherever and like build an entirely new grid, like how do we do it optimally using technology
to
that we
redo
have?
it?
Yeah, like would we go back to being like decentralized microgrids everywhere that are all just like interconnected, or would it be just like, I don't know, from an energy security standpoint, having just massive grids that can take tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people offline is a huge risk.
It seems like it. Like it seems like you'd want it to be decentralized.
Yeah.
At least on the face of it, I do.
Yeah, there's some article or some headline rolling around that it's a national security risk. Like there's 9 substations. Like if you took those 9 out in a targeted attack, like it would take down
let's
the
put
US
that
grid.
let's put that on in the press and just run with it.
9, that's it.
Don't quote me.
Yeah, but we're quoting you on it. I'm gonna tweet it right now. Like, holy cow, that's insane. Now that it is a national security issue, though. A lot of this stuff is. I think Bitcoin mining in general is a benefit for the national security that we have because it does stabilize the grid and it generates more incentive to put new generation online. So
100%. Like the incentives are perverse right now. You've got the production tax credits that'll compensate these wind farms or whoever is taking advantage of the PTCs, even if there is no like load to serve.
Right.
And so if there's no load to serve, like why are you locating these things where it's catch-22, right?
Mhm.
Like if you put a windmill where there's no wind, you're not going to ever generate any electricity, but maybe
Right.
that's where the load is.
Mhm.
And so, as we all know, Bitcoin mining, it allows the generators to go to where the source is, where the generation is the strongest, like West Texas for
Mhm. us
us here in Texas. The Bitcoin miners to come in there now, and then in the future, let's get some more transmission built.
Yeah.
But like Texas is, our highest voltage transmission line is just like a 345 kV.
Mm.
There's 500 kV lines up in New York. There's
Really?
735 kV lines in the Midwest and
Wow.
MISO. So by boosting up the voltage, you increase the amount of amps you can send through it. So like, back in
Is that just because we're antiquated? Like we just haven't updated the infrastructure, or what?
it's like a chicken and the egg type of
Yeah.
situation, right?
Yeah.
Like back in the day, in West Texas, they built CREZ. It's like something renewable energy
Mhm.
zone. And all that transmission was built. I think it was almost like 20 gigawatts worth of transmission.
Wow.
And that was built in anticipation of all the renewables going there.
Mhm.
And now there's so much generation in West Texas, like even the CREZ lines are at capacity,
Wow.
right? Like 20 gigawatts full.
Jeez, dude.
So now it's time. Like, what are we doing? Are we going to
Mhm.
do like a little triangle and then 2 lines going out to Midland, Odessa, like
Mhm.
735 to get all that stranded, West Texas power to the
Mhm.
Texas Triangle? I don't know, but Choi is definitely going to want to be involved, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, so on your guys' next sites you got, are you targeting like behind the meter renewable stuff, or are you targeting like new substation builds on all of it?
We're just going to build our own substations and index to the market.
Yeah.
We call it the Texas hedge.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say the Texas hedge. So you guys don't buy block. You're just running off index constantly.
Don't buy black. Of course, you could in the
Mhm.
future.
Yeah.
But the thesis is there's more generation still being built in West Texas. Like
Mhm.
it is continuing to be built. So if you can price responsibly,
Mm-hmm.
curtail around when the sun's not shining, the wind's not
Mhm.
blowing, you can avoid those couple of hours of maybe some peak,
Right.
crazy pricing.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're capturing those -20,
Mhm.
$0 a megawatt, $5 a megawatt
Yeah.
pricing.
So do you have your kind of average OpEx cost figured, like for power? What has it been?
It depends how much the wind's
Yeah.
blowing and the sun's
Yeah.
shining, which is, you're naked to the market, right?
Mhm.
And whatever the, load zone west settles at plus your
Yeah.
delivery fees is what you're going to pay. But, it kind of like for us, we're not too worried about because we have no customers. We don't need to be on 100% of the time.
Right.
If we're on 80% of the time, but can realize $30 a megawatt hour
Right.
delivered, there's
Then
no
that's
problem.
great. Yeah,
That's
right.
great.
Yeah.
And so, and we think it's only going to get better as time
Mhm.
goes on.
Is that what you've been around? Is $30 on average?
In months with like high
Mhm.
wind,
Yeah.
we've been able to realize $30 a megawatt hour,
Okay.
like delivered all in.
Right. That's pretty good. And running average on 80%. Like from day one of operations to now, you hitting about 80% runtime?
I would say some months higher, some months lower.
Mhm.
Like August, one of the highest pricing months
Right.
of all time in ERCOT. We were around 50% of the time
Mhm.
and realized I think $60 a megawatt
Mhm.
hour. So if you divide 60 by 0.5, it's
Yeah.
like an equivalent of $120 a megawatt hour,
Right.
which is not good.
Right.
But we didn't actually realize that. We just
Right.
took less revenue. Like it was,
Yeah. That makes sense.
So going into the halving, we know that we can just be price responsive.
Mhm.
Take the excess wind, take the excess solar. Even if we're on for only 60% of the time,
Right.
we can get next to nothing energy.
Mhm. Man, that's awesome. That is awesome.
That's the way to do it.
No stress
the
for
way
like
to
a take or pay
Yeah.
PPA. Like,
That's-
oh man, like
right.
7 cents all in. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I got to pay it no matter what.
Mm.
This is why, Drew's ASIC hamster wheel thing. I enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna run our machines into the ground.
Mhm.
We're gonna continue to like modulate them based off of like their break even dollar per
Mhm.
megawatt hour, and continue to extract as much as we can off of them.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense, and I like it too. And it makes sense. Drew is like the other super cool dude in Bitcoin that I'm just like, man, I wish I was more like him. Brad's the other one, and they're both got these New York ties. So now I'm trying to piece this all together. It's the New York kind of connection, I think.
How is New York breeding Bitcoiners?
I don't know. Yeah, seriously, how's that happening?
The lack of freedom. Like
The lack of
you
freedom.
wanted to
Yeah, you're
escape.
right.
Oppression.
Yeah.
Oppression
Cam-
leads you to freedom money.
Cam McDonald, he's another New York guy, and just
Cam's a New Yorker?
Yeah, Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's kind of
My dude.
Yeah, he's a freaking Bills mafia. I guarantee he's broke some tables.
Easily.
I know that dude. has.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna have to ask him as soon as we get off here. How many tables you broke, bro? But yeah, man. Look, I am very anxious to see like kind of how your guys' operation plays out over the next like 6 months, really, because I'm working on some stuff in South Texas. That's why I really want to ask you all these questions, because you guys have been doing it now for a little while, and we're trying to decide what route to take. So yeah, man, I'm fired up to kind of keep bugging you and asking about all this West Texas stuff. It's pretty applicable still to the South Texas market. I think
100%.
South Zone is probably the most comparable one to West. I don't know what your guys' feelings are on it, but I think there's some new generation coming on down there too. Not as much, but you don't have as much mining going on down there either.
Right.
So it's probably pretty applicable.
Yeah,
but,
it's less saturated. I agree,
Right,
but there's a
right.
ton of wind. There's coastal wind, right?
Yeah.
And there's solar down close to the border of
Mhm.
Mexico. So
yeah.
South and West will have low prices,
Mhm.
high volatility. Is
Right.
kind of how
And
like,
that's
we look
how
at
you-
it.
Right. Aticon's got some stuff they're working on. Can't talk about it yet, but it's kind of a market play. I think it'll be interesting. See how we present it to the market. So, but yeah, man. Look, dude, I don't know. I'm not joking. I love talking with you every time we talk. I enjoy everything. You're very knowledgeable. But man, the thing I appreciate the most is just you living the way you are. You know what I mean? You don't change for anybody. You kind of do your thing, and I admire it, man. Bitcoin Jesus over here.
Bitcoin
Sorry,
Jesus.
Austin. I think Brad's taking the title right now. We're gonna have to do a ranking, but yeah, you guys are right up there.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the time. It's been fun.
We're doing another one. You and Austin.
Let's do it.
You and Austin.
Senor
And then
Storms
yes,
in the house.
He's got to come.
Hey, Gideon up. We got to get Gideon back.
Yep,
too.
we gotta get you and Gideon and Caleb and Todd. Is it, or who's the guy?
Clayton is my boss now.
Okay,
Yeah.
Clayton. And yeah, we'll get that one, and then we gotta get one with you.
We
and
might just
Austin.
need to go out to the ranch and just bring podcast equipment
dude.
with us and just
That
let's
would
do
be
that. Do a
fun.
destination one.
Let's do that.
Let's do it past May 29th because I'll be drinking again and then we'll be fine.
All right, that's even better. Perfect. Well, thank you, Brad.
Awesome, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Hey, if you listen on your little podcast player, you know what I realized? There's a little bell on there, and you could press that, and you'll get notified of all of our new shows. So press that bell. You'll catch some more awesome episodes just like this one. Catch you guys in the next one.